All right, so before training, it's your optimal window to set up your session in order to be a great one. And what you want to aim for pre-workout is definitely some carbohydrates. And the fueling window before training is, yeah, pretty much not immediately before. I would give yourself probably somewhere between 45 minutes and 75 minutes to get something in, depending on the actual source of it, to get it in your system and digest it. So I mean, that can be anything for anyone. I mean, depending on what time of day or you know where you're at, you might reach for a high carbohydrate fruit like a banana. You know, depending on what your stomach can handle, maybe like an orange. You might want some sort of granola bar. I think what you want to aim for is some carbohydrates in the range of 25 to 50 grams. That is what I would aim for, and I think that can come in sort of any source that you like. I would shy away from fat and fiber immediately pre-workout. I think you can play around with fat and protein as a way to satiate yourself before a longer session, and also be mindful of the intensity in the early stages of the workout. So if you know, for example, that the beginning onset of training is going to be really hard, you don't want to have any fat or protein because your stomach's not going to be able to handle that because you're going to be going at a high intensity. But let's say, for example, you're going out for a longer bike ride, you'll be able to have a little bit of fat, a little bit of protein if you like. Still make the main focus carbohydrate, because that's going to set you up to make sure those reservoirs and those fuel sources are topped up and ready to tap into when you need them. But yeah, you can definitely have a little bit of fat and a little bit of protein if you desire. And so I think regardless of session, aim for something like that pre-workout. And then when you get into the different durations of sessions and the different intensities of sessions, you're going to have different demands. So I would say the first thing that we have to look at is, what are you going to do? The majority of people are out there and they're just doing like a 30 to 90 minute session in the middle of the week. And the intensity might be mixed, and you know, it might be, you just have to see what it is. If it's an easy hour or an easy half an hour, other than the pre-workout meal, there's nothing that you need to have intra-workout. If you're going to have a session that's going to have some pretty high intensity, I would maybe aim for something like sports drink. You know, we've spoken about an hour workout in the preseason or in the build up to the season being a great place to test out exactly what your race day nutrition is going to be in terms of the actual source. Having a bottle of sports drink to supplement that is going to work on that. It's also going to give you a little bit of carbohydrates as a steady dose all the way through, and that's going to set you up really nicely. If you get sort of in the 60, 90, 2-hour range, you're definitely going to want to be reaching for some sort of sports drink to supplement that session, particularly if you're going to have some intensity. I think up to 2 hours, if it's going to be an easy workout, you could probably get away with not having too much. If you wanted to have just like a little bit of sports drink, you could probably get away with none if it was a super low intensity workout. But if you're going 90 minutes plus with any sort of intensity, you're definitely going to want to supplement with some sort of carbohydrate source. First reach for me is going to be a bottle of sports drink. That's going to be definite. Make sure I have that on board. Sort of aiming for a rule of thumb of 1 bottle per hour. So let's say, for example, I'm doing a 90-minute ride with some intensity. I'm going to aim for 1.5 to 2 bottles of sports drink over the course of that. And depending on what the intensity is, that might be enough. If you have something that's super, super hard, you might need to supplement with something like a gel. Aim for something in that, like we said, our rule of thumb, 25 grams of carbohydrate every 30 to 45 minutes, in addition to that sports drink. And that's going to ensure that you're very, very well topped off. You're going to nail your intervals. You're going to have great, you're going to feel really good doing that likely. Now, if you get over 2 hours, this is when it becomes compulsory to have something like a bottle of sports drink and supplementary gels throughout, or gels, blocks, bars, some sort of supplementary source every 30 to 45 minutes. So be aiming for, 1 bottle of sports drink concentrated to about 50 grams of carb, and then, a gel block bar concentrated to 25 grams every 30 to 45 minutes over the course of those 2 hours. And I would start that early in the session. So, minute 45, I would definitely be aiming to get that going, because, as we've spoken about, you want, in your racing and your training, you want to have this linear progression. And in order to do that, you've got to set yourself up early in the race or early in a training session in order to finish strong, and that's very important when it comes to the fueling there.